If you are choosing to listen to this, you probably know that Women's History Month is a real thing and not just a cute Google Doodle that pops up every now and then. Maybe you turned this on accidentally and are one of those people who's thinking, hey, where's our Men's History Month? And to that we say, it is literally every other month, you dum-dum. And while we shouldn't need a month for this, March, okay, can be a time to reflect on and celebrate accomplishments and advances by women while still marking that in so many ways we still face a lot of inequality. And not just inequality in car safety. Who authorized seatbelts to bisect us right in the middle of our bosoms? Which is why I have some serious choice words for people and companies who are reneging on their commitments to DEI initiatives, who forget that so much of women's advancement has been thanks to DEI programs. Because let me remind you that DEI isn't just three random letters strung together. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So when you come out and say that you do not support DEI, the full sentence you are saying is that you don't support diversity, which, yeah, we knew. And you also don't support equity, and you also don't support inclusion. Isn't it embarrassing for you to hear that out loud and separated like that? Look, we know the world is made for white men. And now it's socially acceptable to say that you want it that way again, but people of all races and genders benefit from DEI. DEI provides places for new moms to nurse and pump. It provides pay equity and safer workplaces. Oh, you don't like being harassed at work? Think a DEI program. Seriously, where are all my fathers of daughters now? This is Choice Words. I'm Samantha Bee. My guest today is the founder of the Me Too movement, Tarana Burke. I feel like Tarana is always a bright light, even though I inevitably end up talking to her in the darkest times. But there is no one I would rather talk to during Women's History Month. Also, to really celebrate women this month, I should tell you that I am hitting the road soon with my new show, How to Survive Menopause, and hopefully coming to a city near you. For the full list of cities and tickets, visit sambee.com and follow my social media at @RealSamBee. Oh, I hope to see you soon. And until then, take a listen and make good choices. Well, I'm always so excited to see your face. I'm always so happy to be talking to you. It's been so long. And I feel like the world has...
Oh, man.
Oh my goodness.
The world has spun on its head at least 3 times since I've seen you.
100%. So before we even get started, like, how are you? Okay. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Boy, that's a big question.
It is. That's the whole 45-minute question.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm okay, generally.
Yeah.
Managing my anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lots of stuff happening in my personal life. And it's, so that's been, that's taken up a lot of my mental and heart space lately. Mm-hmm. Trying to navigate this world that we're living in has taken up the rest of it. So, yeah,
right.
I would say that's a succinct way of telling you how I'm doing.
Yeah.
How about you?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to begin answering the question. I'm kind of focusing on the things that I can focus on. Yeah. Without trying to focus on the thing, like one thing that is very important to me at a time, and tried to do that semi-well with some proficiency, and then saving space to not engage too much. Like how much do you get drawn into the news cycle?
It's so hard. I'm like thinking about giving up social media for Lent. Right. And I was talking about this with my husband last night. We were discussing what are we going to give up? Mm-hmm. And we were like, oh, we should give up sweets. We should do this. And I was like, maybe I should do social media. He gave me that look like how? Like, I'd love to see it, And I was like, I don't know, maybe maybe I'll cut down on my hours,
Right. Right.
because
Or cut
it's
down on one
so
of them. Like cut out,
yeah.
do
And
one per
I'm
day.
really only on Instagram.
Right.
I go on Facebook for like familial, like to check
Mm-hmm.
on my mom and my aunts and that kind of stuff. But people should know this. My ex account or Twitter account was hacked like
Oh.
last year. Yeah, so
Mm.
that's not me. You should know that's
Wow.
not. I have not figured out how to get access. I've tried a bunch of times, and
Right.
whatever their verification process is crap, and I just let it go. I'm like,
Well, how much
yeah.
of your work is your work, but how much
Mhm.
of your work is amplified on social media? Because you are an active user, you're a
Mhm.
decently active poster, like not compared to
Yeah.
like influencers
Yeah, yeah, I know.
logging,
I can't
every
do it.
no.
And actually,
But
I probably am a less prominent of the prominent activists, if you will, because
right.
of that. I don't, there are those who are in my age group who are better than me, but I think it has a little bit to do with my age. Like, I'm so busy with like in real life work that I don't
Yeah.
know how to make time to be on social media talking about the
Right.
thing.
Right.
Right. So I have to like go in the world and like do the thing. Our organization has a page. So we spend a
Yes.
lot of time making sure that is active and there's like an actual communications plan and all the rest of that.
Right.
But for me personally, when I can think of it, I post and I put and I try to and I go, thank God Instagram has stories. So you can just sort of like put stuff in there really fast and keep going.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not a prolific poster.
We've talked before on this podcast. We've talked about choice. We've talked about the big choices that you've made. So instead of talking about that, again, I want to talk about the choices you're making like right now. Like
Hmm.
where are you putting your work energy? How are you dividing yourself up?
Oh, for me, I would say probably 75 to 80% of my time is
Hmm.
inside of the organization Me Too International and
Yeah.
our strategy for moving our work forward.
Right.
There's so much to do around so what I call sort of holding the line around this work.
Yeah.
Um, and because it's such a broad spectrum of work that we hold, and I wasn't doing it full time before, right? Before
Okay.
it was more to like 50-50, where I had to kind of be like Tarana Burke in the world,
Right.
right? And I did a lot of, you know, interviews and all of this sort of public facing
Yeah.
thing to try to keep the issue relevant. And I felt that felt like a big lift to make sure I was the public face of this issue to keep it relevant for people.
Hmm.
That is so difficult and it's so hard. And also, um, there are a lot more people talking about it now, right? There are a lot
Right.
more faces, as there should be. And so I feel like I can do less of that and I can do more of the sort of on the ground work, the big thinking, the strategizing about the literal work that needs to move forward.
Right.
So I've stepped back from that and I've gone into this work more full time. We started a global network
Hmm.
um, after 4 years of strategizing and working to stand that work up. Last year, we launched our global network. So that took my on the ground work to a higher level.
Yeah.
I also have a production company, and
Right.
that is another body of work that is related but very different, obviously.
So, okay, Elon Musk, okay.
Oh,
I mean,
let's jump
I
in.
hate to even
No,
say,
let's go.
it actually disgusts me. Like, I think I taste metal just even saying his name gives me like, ugh.
Can I tell you that when I call a Lyft or an Uber, if they send me a Tesla, I cancel the
Yeah.
car. This is where I am at this
Yes,
point.
people are doing that. I
Yeah.
feel like if I owned a Tesla right now, I would be like, how can I get out of my lease
Yeah.
sooner than expected and
Yeah.
get into a hybrid Toyota?
I can't take it.
I can't take it.
Mm.
And for the record, Cybertrucks are so embarrassing to look at. They're so dumb. They're the
It's like
physical manifestation of how dumb and horrible he is.
they really look like that awkward Lego piece that you don't know what to do with. It's like you get a set of Legos and there's this one random piece that you're like, what's this for? You just sort of throw it back in the box. Like, what is this driving Lego piece that we have? It's so stupid.
Did you watch Wonder Woman growing up?
Yes, it's my
Right?
favorite show.
Remember that little robot?
Yeah.
That
Yes,
little dog robot that followed
yes,
her around, Diana
yes,
Prince?
yes,
It looks like that to me.
exactly.
And every time I see it, if I see it like I'm driving and I see one come around the corner, I do laugh. I
Yeah.
genuinely laugh at it. I think
No, they're ridiculous.
it really speaks to who that person is. Okay, so whatever, this horrible human being swinging his chainsaw around every department, making cuts, destroying decades of work and funding and progress, obviously. What are the areas, of your work and all things kind of
Oh,
linked to the Violence Against Women Act that
mhm.
what's being directly impacted by him in your world?
I'm so glad you asked this because what's sad and what, you don't, in this moment, it's been kind of hard to be like, what about us? Right? Because so many people are
Sure.
affected, but we do have to raise our voices. And
Yeah.
so the big thing, obviously, is VAWA, which is Violence Against Women Act, and VOCA. Those are two of the biggest things that were affected. And that's where the funding for most of the money that goes to violence for sexual and gender-based violence in the country comes from.
So is all that funding in jeopardy? Like are you just kind of, is everybody just in
It's
hold
like,
mode?
so the federal funding, this is the thing that a little known fact that most people don't know.
Mhm.
Every single rape crisis center in the country
Yeah.
is funded through the government, right? And there are over
Hmm.
1,300 of them in the United States.
Yeah.
And so when they threaten funding through VAWA and VOCA, that
Hmm.
is threatening the livelihood of every single rape crisis center in the country.
Mm.
Every single domestic violence program in the country
Right.
receives funding through VAWA or VOCA. So
Right.
you are threatening all of those programs, all of those victim assistance programs, all of those programs that come through like the DA's office that offers assistance to women and children who are victims of intimate partner violence. All of that is funded through DOJ, through Department of Labor. They have all of these different programs around that, and all of that is in jeopardy. People do not know the other thing that's in jeopardy is Title IX. It's
Right.
another big issue. Title IX has always been something that gets volleyballed, back and forth under every administration, right?
Yeah.
And so this administration has reinstated the awful regulations that were instated under the when Trump was in office before,
Right.
right? And so it redefined sexual harassment and adjust the standard of evidence in cases of campus sexual assault. And let me just say, beyond just the policies, right? So we have obviously funding that is in jeopardy for people who do the work to
Hmm.
interrupt sexual violence and support survivors. And we have policies that are in jeopardy that try to protect people from sexual violence. But there is also now a new day for people who commit acts of sexual violence.
Yes.
It's a new day, right? There were, let me see if I can count how many different people introduced in this administration who have been accused of acts of sexual violence. Let me start with the
Mm.
president.
Goes
You
right to
know,
the top.
let's start at the
Right
top
to
and
the
work our
top.
way down, right? We don't even have to start at
Yeah.
the bottom. We had, I don't know, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, at least seven
Yeah.
that I can think of off the
Yeah.
top of my head.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so people think that's not a big deal and they try to explain them away as one offs, one at a time. And they get into the weeds of like when Hegseth was going through his approval hearings, and they were like, oh, here's the circumstances of this and this. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no, but you have to look at it collectively.
Yes.
Collectively, what we have now is an open door policy. It's not even it's no longer. Remember back in the days when I forgot who it was who was running for president, and it came out that he had an affair, and
Oh, yeah.
it
So,
like ruined his campaign, and he had
hmm
to like, it was like not sexual misconduct, not it's
yeah.
like he had an affair, and you're no longer qualified to be the president of the United States. We are so like light years away from that.
hmm
This is like, what? He was accused of rape. What is that? I mean,
What is that? What, multiple accusations? Like
yeah.
per person?
Is there
Multiple.
It's he said, she said. What are we
Yeah.
talking about here, right? It's just the precedent that this sets. And then beyond that, there are these like podcasters who are
hmm
being emboldened, who are like ardent supporters of this administration and of the president.
hmm
And so, it's not just the way they support him. When you look at the other things they say, like these raging misogynists
Yeah.
and the stuff that they're talking about. And lastly, I just want to say the fact that, DEI has become like a dog whistle for Black in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I think in that, what people lost is that DEI includes women. It's also a backdoor. There's been an absolute attack on women's rights. We know that. We are
Yeah.
women. We've lived through this for the
Yeah.
last 10 years. Um, and so while it has absolutely been an excuse for these racist attacks on Black people, on immigrants,
hmm
particularly Mexican people, it is also a way for them. They didn't forget it includes women.
No.
The American people may have forgotten that DEI meant women, but they absolutely did not forget that.
Right.
And so this dismantling of DEI is also a way to pile on to this longstanding attack on women's rights,
Yes.
right? And to continue to relegate us to this positionality that we've had, that we fought so hard to come out of through all of these different waves of feminism. Like the fact that feminism is a bad word now, that is a debated word now, right? You're a feminist is
Yeah.
fascinating to me.
Creating really great retail experiences is tough, especially with multiple stores, teams of staff, fulfillment centers, separate workflows. It is a lot. But with Shopify Point of Sale, you can do it all without complexity. Shopify's point of sale system is a unified command center for your retail business. It brings together in-store and online operations across 1,000 locations. Imagine being able to guarantee that shopping is always convenient. Endless aisle, ship to customer, buy online, pick up in store, all made simpler so customers can shop how they want and staff have the tools to close a sale every time. Let's face it, acquiring new customers is expensive, but with Shopify POS, you can keep shoppers coming back with personalized experiences and first-party data that give marketing teams a competitive edge. In fact, it's proven. Based on a report from EY, businesses on Shopify POS see real results like 22% better total cost of ownership and benefits equivalent to an 8.9% uplift in sales on average relative to the market set surveyed. Want more? Check out at shopify.com/Samby, all lowercase, and learn how to create the best retail experiences without complexity. Shopify.com/Samby.
I know you asked me about one person, but that one person is a gateway
No.
drug. So
Yeah, it's a gateway drug. It's not even so like it's an attack, an attack, an attack, and it is an
Mhm.
erosion of empathy.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
just a full, like,
Absolutely.
it's not cool to care,
Mm-mm.
not cool to have an awareness of
Mm-mm.
any type of
Mm-mm.
injustice.
Mm-mm.
You're a scold, you're a
Mm-hmm.
hag,
Yeah.
you're like a screaming radical.
Yeah. All of it.
It,
All of
it,
it.
I'm not sure where the fuck all the caring went. Like, I know that
No, no.
people do have it. I know it's there, but the loudest voice in the room is so shitty right now.
The way it's so surfaced, right? The way it's
hmm
surfaced and has become ugly
Yeah,
is also, I want to say fascinating, but it's scary to watch, really. It's
it is
not
scary.
fascinating, right?
hmm
It's so scary to watch because it's just one leap from the debatable to like violence, right?
Yeah.
It's right there.
It's right
So
there.
now
And I
I
mean,
have a reason to harm you because of this.
and it really just starts with like taking away everyone's jobs. Taking
Hmm.
just like firing people, not
Hmm.
caring. Nobody cares. Let's end these programs.
Hmm.
Let's cancel this Ebola program
It's ridiculous.
around the
Um,
world. Let's scale that back. Let's not feed people. Let's not feed people. Like what?
no, let's not feed
What?
people. Yeah, let's not continue this aid that was keeping this infectious disease from spread. But I'm gonna tell you what else worries me. What worries me is the dearth in leadership that we have.
We do. Oh, look at you've got fireworks. Is that your brain
That's
exploding?
my brain exploding. That's what happens when you let kids use your iPad. Um, what
Oh yeah.
worries me though is the dearth in leadership all the way around. And I'm gonna say this: we have some standouts, obviously here and there,
Yeah.
but because there's nobody in leadership saying some of this stuff, I worry about. And I know this is like I shouldn't say both sides. 'Cause I think there's several sides. Right?
Mhm. Mhm.
There's several different people in play here, but because there's nobody talking about this, then it leaves space for those who are being pushed out, for those people to turn for a bitterness to grow. Hurt turns into hatred really fast. There's nobody talking about the lack of empathy. There's nobody talking about the need. My favorite topic is grace.
Yeah.
So we're talking about what's missing, but we're not talking about what's needed.
Right.
And so our leadership, what people are watching is we're watching all of this loss. We're not seeing a plan for how do we get it back. We're not seeing any plans in action for how do we take action. What does action look like?
Mhm.
What does fighting back look like? But also what's necessary in this moment? How do we hold space for the people who are being harmed? So there's a lot missing. We're just watching evil, 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 vow, and it's like we just have to sit and watch it happen.
I know. And
And so
there's
that worries me a lot.
it really worries me like who is the person like where is the person with the platform and a possibility to shape a narrative for the rest of
Yeah,
like where is
yeah,
that voice? We don't
yes,
have that one clear voice. We're
yeah.
just arguing amongst ourselves.
Yeah. That's the part that worries me. I say the things I say. My voice is not loud enough, and I think those of us who are having these conversations, and maybe we just need to come together and say it to collectively, so our voices
Right.
can become louder. Because I don't think our voices are loud enough, and I also think that people need to hear it from like our elected officials, the people who we all came
Yeah.
together and decided were our leadership. Um,
Yes.
but also these are the moments when like a Dr. King came forward or,
Mm-hmm.
like the leaders that we saw. And I'm not advocating for like a single leader to rise from the whatever. I'm
Sure.
not I'm not saying that that's like an answer. I'm not looking for the Avengers or a superhero, but I also think that's what these moments make. It's odd. I do feel trepidation
Mm-hmm.
about what we're seeing, but there's a part of me, I'm gonna be honest, Sam, there's a part of me that's also like this message is, and I'm gonna say this, and I
Yeah.
hope your audience understands what I mean, because it's hard to hear this when you are hungry and trying to figure out how to pay for your food and wondering if you're gonna have Medicaid and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a part of me that has a real understanding in my heart that if we can push through this moment, on the other side of this moment, these people don't win.
Right.
I believe with every fiber of my being that hatred is not sustainable. It's just not. It's this vile hatred, like this evil way. You cannot oppress people, beat people down. You cannot treat people in this way, particularly when we've seen
Yeah.
alternatives, right?
Yes.
We know that there's an alternative life. And I think that this is not a Democrat Republican conversation, right? This is like America has done some real, I was about to curse, sorry, some real terrible things, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a country. And so America needs a fresh face in general.
Right.
And so I think that we have gotten ourselves to a bind.
Yeah.
And on the other side of this what these people are trying to do right now is not sustainable. And if when we get to the other side of this, we have an opportunity to do something so different and to create an America that is what we are clamoring for right now. I know what that means though, right? I know when people hear that, it feels like la la land, and it feels like, well, what do we do in the meantime? And what about the people we'll lose? Because we are going to lose people, right? People are going to suffer. People are going to not come out on the other side. I don't have an answer for that. And that's why I don't like to say this out loud too often, because I know it
Sure.
doesn't make people feel good. But that's just what I believe.
I agree with you. I think it's like we're in this situation. We're going to be in it for a long time, foreseeable future, many years. And I do think it's a good time to go, okay, well, for those of us who can, for of us who have the like, in a way, like luxury of having a
Mm-hmm.
red line that won't be crossed,
Mm-hmm.
we have to
Mm-hmm.
remember. We have to remember what those lines are
Yeah.
and stay true to them
Oh, that's right.
in all situations.
Yeah.
Been very disappointing to me to see so many also just look around and go, well, people are people, but like business leaders and icons, like business leaders and people who are representatives, like people who are out there with power and control, who have money, who are like making decisions that really affect people's lives.
Yeah.
It's been really disappointing, and it's shaking me to my fucking core. Oh, I swore, to see how many of those people
Yeah.
who can make a choice
That's right.
not to go along are going
Yeah.
along with it.
Watching people preemptively,
Yes.
like there's an organization that does this work, and they started like erasing all evidence of trans people
Mm-hmm.
from their site and stuff like that. And the people were like so angry.
Yeah.
And of course, as they should be. And I'm like, and they were like, well, we get federal funding. And I'm like, I get that. Listen, the funding to do this work is abysmal. It was that way well before. It's been that way for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
So far be it from me I understand. Let me just say that. I get it.
Yeah.
And I also understand that at the very least, we work for people who are already traumatized, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hold the line. Make a statement in every opportunity you can. That's what people need right now. And that's what, to me, leadership looks like. Leadership says, you're gonna have to come to my door and say, if you're not getting this check unless you do this thing.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
I'm not gonna read something. I'm not gonna get an alert from the New York Times and then go directly to my to the website and start deleting stuff.
No.
Like that's the part that like preliminary compliance. What is that?
I don't understand it at all. I've
That's
canceled. I'm canceling subscriptions. I'm
oh,
stopping
left and right,
different business
honey.
left and right. I'm like,
Left and right.
what the shit? Are you gotta be kidding me?
I told my friend the other day, I was like, now this is getting ready to be interesting because we have gotten, and this is another thing about the people, right? This is where the people, when you look around at these other countries, when they flood the streets,
Yeah.
and they are like, when they don't take they as my they take no tea for the fever, as the old people used to say. They gonna get in the streets and get what they want. So America is not quite cut like that all the time. But we have gotten very used to our creature comforts. We have gotten very used to our conveniences. And this is going to be a really interesting time for the rubber to meet the road, right? Like I canceled my Washington Post subscription.
Mm-hmm.
And the next big baby is Amazon.
Yes.
Right?
That's a big
And
one.
Amazon has us in a chokehold.
Chokehold.
And listen, I am the first one to admit I live by my Prime. It'll be here in
Yeah.
2 days and, all of that. However, I was having this conversation with my girlfriend because I was like, wouldn't it be interesting if this is the thing that pushes us back to it's just a matter of
Yeah.
of comfort for us, right? It's
Yeah.
just a matter of convenience. So I have to wait 7 days, or I have to get in my imagine maybe I have to
Mm-hmm.
get in my car and go buy it. But if that's what it takes
Yeah.
to have to say that you don't actually you actually have this position because of us, not
Yes.
the other way around. We need to figure out how to hold these people accountable, and we can.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Luckily for you, there's Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Don't rely on other job sites where you hope your listing is at the top of the page or the right person sees it. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people you want faster, and it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. I've worked on many different creative projects with writers' rooms and full staffs, and I'll tell you, having the wrong person in the wrong place is a lot costlier than people realize. That's why making sure you find the right person with the right posting can save everyone time and emotional energy, and that's what Indeed can do for your next hire. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Samby. Just go to Indeed.com/Samby right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Samby. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. I used to like 3 teenagers, and I used to be like, get off your phones. Now it looks so stupid. You're buried in your phone all the time. But now I'm like, hey, man, you are carrying water. You are doing the work for these men, and they are fucking your life. And I'm not exaggerating. They
Yeah.
are fucking your life, and you're
Literally.
you're giving them your eyeballs and your data and your attention. Just you're serving it up to them for free,
Mm-hmm.
and they're giving you nothing. I'm like, you wouldn't do that in any other set of circumstances. You are
Ooh, that's
giving
good.
over. I'm like, you are
That's
giving
good.
all your power to these rich dicks on their
That's a good one.
yachts. Do you want to do that? Is that who you are? And they're like, Mom, you're so stupid. And I'm like, if I say it enough times, one day you're going to hear it. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
these are the transactions we've all gotten ourselves
Yes.
into.
No, it's true.
We do our business on social media.
Yeah.
We do our business on platforms. This is the way it
Mm-hmm.
is. But I think we all owe them the minimum.
Yeah. It's like, how can we scale this all the way back? Listen, we're having this conversation live on a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's also time for different strategies. So maybe
Yeah.
we're not flooding the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're not, raising up in protests and sitting on the steps of the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we are talking. It's time for us to be having some different conversations about
Yeah.
how we show up and push back. And what is beautiful is that, to your point about your kids, these kids are also not having it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bit, these kids are smart, and they have an analysis that is much sharper than ours was at 16, 17.
Oh, my God. Oh.
They get it in a way that makes me feel very hopeful.
Yes.
So I think when you just said that, it just sparked something for me too, because I'm just like, yeah, these kids, I probably won't make it to see whatever, but these kids will, and they really do get it. So I do think when I say it's not sustainable, it's not, and it's for them.
Right.
They need to understand, they understand that. Man.
Okay, so
On
I
a
do
hopeful
want to talk
note.
about, I mean, I do feel like, let's use the example of the Me Too movement, which was really so huge. It was larger than life during Trump's first term. How do
Mhm.
you see, I see its purpose to this moment, to this day. I look at like Giselle Pellico and I think
Ugh.
it's still, it's
Mhm.
real. And
Mhm.
like 10 years ago, we would not know about her case. We would not
Nope.
know about that situation. So there are reverberations
Oh,
around the
absolutely.
world.
The
And
thing that fascinates me is when people say, I just did an interview the other day, and people say, "Is the Me Too movement still alive?" I say,
what?
it is all around you. It is,
Yes.
one, there's our work that goes on every day. We have an organization. We are global, right? I
Mm-hmm.
have 133 organizations across 60 countries. But aside from that very concrete thing, the reverberations of what happened in 2017 are very much alive, whether it's the Adult Survivors Act that was passed that has all of these major cases that are still in the news, whether it's these hundreds of policies that were passed all across the country, or whether it's the people, the way that it is a part of the fabric of so much of people's lives that they
Mm-hmm.
understand that there's space to make a statement. There's space to come forward. I met Giselle.
Mm.
Um, I went to Paris to
Wow.
meet her during the case.
You did.
Yeah, I couldn't talk about it until after the case. I agreed
Okay.
that we wouldn't discuss it until her case was over. And I put the picture on my Instagram page the day of her trial when it was
Okay.
over. And she is, I don't even know how to describe her. She doesn't speak English, and of course, I don't speak French. And yet, we still had a great conversation with a translator.
I'm sure.
But what was so striking to me about her is she felt like my neighbor or like, a coworker or something, just extremely ordinary,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
In the most extraordinary way though. Like it just was like, really, you just did this. One, that you experienced the thing that you experienced, number one, right?
Yep.
That to me was, it was overwhelming to try to imagine that. But two, that having experienced that you had the wherewithal to come forward. And she's saying to me, like, you are this person who inspired this, and you are so, and I'm like,
Oh
but
my God, my
you, ma'am.
heart.
No, it was, oh my gosh. And I'm saying to her, what you will inspire with what you've done, you have no idea. It was incredible. It was something I will obviously never, ever forget. But this is the thing I think about when people say, oh, the movement is dead. I was like, it will
No,
actually never die. It will never die.
it will never die. But the way that she so specifically talked about just like not allowing people to put shame on her, she was
Hmm.
like, I'm not
Hmm.
ashamed.
No.
You be ashamed.
Yeah.
And I want you all in the courtroom so that people will see you and
Hmm.
shame you.
Yeah. You
You're the
should be
one. You
ashamed.
take the shame. It's not for me. I'm a
And
grandma.
I was right. And she's so chic too with her little haircut.
Yeah.
But I will tell you the other thing is I spent time with her attorneys
Okay.
and they didn't get to me enough attention and credit. Her attorneys had to, and it was two. We saw Stefan, her the main attorney, but there was his team was all women. It was a group of other
Oh.
women,
Oh.
and these young women had to sit and sort through every single one of those videos.
God damn it.
And they insisted. They were like, if she had to, endure it, they could at least do that work. But everything that went into bringing that to trial
Mm-hmm.
is so triumphant. And it's
Yes.
just like moments like that where I'm like, I have no choice but to continue to do this work and
Yeah.
also to continue to hold the name of this work up and out loud because
Yes.
these are the reasons why survivors feel emboldened. For every law that's passed or thing that's rolled back that tries to intimidate a survivor from coming forward. For every loud, disgusting, misogynistic podcaster who tries to make us feel diminished, there is these moments with a Giselle Pellico who says, no, this is not our shame.
Right.
So yeah, I want to stand in the middle of that to be, a person who is safeguarding that and like, trying to play whatever role I can to make sure it keeps moving forward. So it's difficult, but it's worth it.
And how are you observing the P. Diddy, the upcoming trial of P. Diddy? Like, how are
I think it's
you?
May.
I mean, that too would never have. It would never have
No,
happened. Would
no.
never have happened.
And you have to remember the thing about that going back, right? So that's the Adult Survivors Act that Cassie filed underneath. That act was passed because of a group of survivors, including Drew Dixon, who was one of the survivors of Russell Simmons, right? So it's something it needs to be said because it's something very cyclical about that.
Right.
And she herself has not been able to get justice, or was still trying to get justice in that case, right? But she fought, even in the midst of not being able to get her own justice, she fought to make sure that that law was passed. That law gets passed, and Cassie is able to file.
Right.
And, so I just think about these connections when people say that, this movement is dead, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, yeah, I can't say I'm looking forward to the media circus that'll inevitably come with it. It's always a lot of misinterpretations. There's always a lot of the questions, the people, the blah, 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 blah. We've been here before. We've seen it. I do hope, though, because we've been here before, that the media will take its cues from these past cases and handle it a little bit differently.
Right.
And I hope that the people will handle it differently. I gotta say, though, you haven't seen the demonizing of the survivors in this case as much as you've seen in other cases in the past.
That is
a little
true.
Different.
It is a little different. But
it's a little different.
So much will come to light.
So much will come to light.
So much will come to light.
But there's a lot of homophobia in this one. There's a lot of queer mongering. There's a lot of all kind of stuff.
Yes.
That I'm just not looking forward to. It. What we decided is our role is to try to put out a lot of support for survivors, and we have a platform called Survivor Sanctuary. It's a virtual healing platform. We try to push people towards that, give them resources. Right. It's kind of like gird your loins.
Yes. Yeah. Gird your loins. Yeah. So let me just ask you, my God, we've talked for so long already. I feel like I've talked to you for 30 seconds. I just, honestly, every time I'm so lost in the conversation, I'm like, drilling in. But I do want to talk about kind of Me Too, just your global work and what that feels like. Now that the whole world is looking at us and going what the fuck are you doing in America?
I know.
What?
It's really interesting to be, one, let me just say this. I was really interested in having this global network because in the weeks and months and even years after Me Too started, I was inundated with people from around the world who were like, we want to join Me Too. How do we join Me Too? I want to be a part of the movement. And it was kind of like, well, I'm not really sure what that means, right? Because in one way, I did not want to be proprietary about what the Me Too movement was, but I also did want to draw some parameters around that because everybody tried to make a claim to this is what Me Too is, this is what Me Too is, and I was like, that actually isn't, even to the point where we had. During the last two presidential elections ago, there were people who were trying to co-opt our logo and say and use it against. It was just all kind of stuff. So we realized we had to put our arms around it a little bit and say, we identify with Black feminist principles, which means that we believe in intersectionality. We believe in community. We believe in centering the most marginalized people, even though everybody gets served. There's some principles and values that we hold as in support of survivors that we want to make sure that those get upheld. But in any event, we also want to make sure that, as this is a global movement, that we are connected to people around the globe, but not from the perspective that the United States has all the answers, right?
Right.
Because a lot of times when the U.S. enters in these conversations with people outside of the country, it's like, how can we come and help you? How can we come and solve your problems?
How can we put the stars and stripes on this movement?
Let's wrap that around there. And I wanted to come into this conversation, and I hope people understand what I say when I'm saying this. There's a thing that happens that I've seen when I've gone outside of the country, and even in America sometimes. When we talk about sexual and gender-based violence in a global setting and the U.S. is present, we don't talk about what's happening in the United States. So, for instance, I was they have an annual global conference here called the Commission on the State of Women. It's called CSW for short. It's held every year, hosted by the United Nations. People come from around the globe to report on the state of women in their respective countries. A couple of years ago, I went. It was right after the fall of Roe. There was no report from the United States.
Oh.
On the state of women, and there's nothing about reproductive justice.
Wow.
Nothing about. And I'm looking around. I'm like, wait, we're in New York, in the state of New York, in the country of America, and there's nothing. And so we sort of take this posturing that's like, no, we're okay. What's going on with you guys?
Yeah, like we're the default. We're the default.
We're the default, right?
And you guys are doing, well, like, I don't know what the hell you're doing over there.
Yeah, right. And I did a talk once, a speech at the UN, and I was like, listen, I come from a 46 square foot piece of land that's like 6 miles from here called the Bronx. And there are 4 million people in that strip of land. And that is where I was first sexually assaulted.
Right.
And those 4 million people are the equivalent of some small African countries. And so, and the demographics in that strip of land are similar to the demographics in some small African countries.
Right.
And so, yeah, we have some stuff to talk about. And so our global work is saying, what can we do together that we can't do apart? We have things happening here in the U.S., some stuff that we're strategizing around is going well, some stuff that we don't know that's not going well. And there's some things that are happening on the continent, in Latin America, in the Caribbean, that we should be talking about. Also, there are folks who are fighting the same fight in all of these different pockets of the world that don't talk to each other. Right. That don't collaborate, that don't talk about best practices, that don't share resources. And so our network is really about that. What can we do together that we can't do separately? And I'm really excited. We are raising money, of course, for it now.
Yeah.
But we're going to have our first in-person gathering soon on the continent, and we're going to do it in Africa, and then we intend to have our second one in Latin America. But it's really exciting. I'm really just so excited about it.
Well, you know what? That feels like the place we all should be. Like, what can we do together that we can't do apart?
Exactly. That should be our motto
that's like, everybody keep that nugget in your heads. Like, it's good to like have that intention.
Yes.
At the forefront at all times. Oh my God. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Oh, I'll come talk to you anytime, any place, any platform.
Always a damn pleasure. Even though we talked about a lot of dark things. We also talked about good things.
We did.
Yes.
And honestly, even with the dark things, I would rather be in a dark place with good people.
Me too.
And
Yes, exactly.
so we still are surrounded by a lot of good people. I have a lot of good people in my life like you. And I'm really glad that we have platforms like this to talk about how we get through the dark times. So
exactly.
Thank you for having me.
That was Tarana Burke, and I had no choice but to look up one thing. We were talking about how the Trump administration has an open door policy for people accused of sexual assault, and I just felt compelled to check how many there were. Well, including the president, there are at least 6 people chosen for cabinet or other government positions who are directly accused of assault or accused of covering up assault. That just feels awesome. Thanks for joining us. I'm Samantha Bee. See you next week for some more choice words. Thank you for listening to Choice Words, which was created by and is hosted by me. The show is produced by Zvia Baron-Reinstein with editing and additional producing by Josh Richmond. We're distributed by Lemonada Media, and you can find me at RealSamB on X and Instagram. Follow Choice Words wherever you get your podcasts or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.